Hello folks, Vladimir here, and today I'm going to be showing different ways of sending a redstone signal over a long distance into chunks which are unloaded. Now there are various examples directly in front of me, and at the end of each one of these lines that you see there is a redstone lamp. I'll power each one of these lines individually with a redstone torch, and then we'll see if the signal actually reaches the redstone lamp at the other end. So the first one is simply 15 redstone dust, repeater, 15 redstone dust, repeat and rinse. So let's power this up and then let's follow it and see how far this signal gets. Okay, as you can see, the signal's reached the back of this repeater, but it's not actually gone forward due to the chunks being unloaded. Now if I was to update the block at the side of the repeater, the signal will continue on and it will power the redstone lamp at the end of the line, which you see there, it's just switched itself on. So there we go. So the same would apply if I was to switch this off. Depowering the line. Let's follow it back up. And as you can see, the repeater is frozen. So updating the block at the side of the repeater sends the signal forward. Okay, so what we can do to get around that is that we can update the repeater. If we have minecarts at the side of it, if we update the repeater or the block at the side of the repeater, you see this redstone goes on, which updates this block, which means that the signal should continue on. So let's switch this on and see what happens. Power that on, and then let's get to the other end and see how far the signal's got. There we go. The signal's actually reached the redstone lamp. This doesn't happen all the time. There can be slight delays when running this. Sometimes I find that this redstone itself has actually frozen in place, so it doesn't actually update, and then you have to wait for the minecart to go over the detector rail a few times, and then it allows the signal to go on. But it does allow the signal to go on. It can be slightly clunky, but it does seem to work, as long as you're going to tolerate the extra room needed for the minecarts and the extra noise generated by them. So let's turn the minecart line off. Don't know really what to call this. We'll call it the minecart line. And yes it has. It's actually switched the redstone lamp off. As I was flying over here, I did notice the repeaters here being updated. It was a bit slow, but they were getting updated by the minecarts. And the reason for this is that minecarts don't lose their momentum. So as they're moving backwards and forwards like they are doing here, the momentum's never lost, and so they will continue doing this, running over the detector rails and triggering the redstone at the side of the repeaters. Now for this test, I'll be using old school repeaters. We've seen the normal repeaters getting frozen in their state, and by testing these we can see if the torches get frozen in their state. So let's power this up. and go along the line and see how far the signal gets. And the signal got here, which is roughly about the same distance that the original repeater line got. So we got to here before the signal didn't make it. And similarly as well, updating the torch at the side sends the signal on, and of course you can see the redstone lamp has lit. So let's power that off and see what happens. Okay, that's the torch gone, and as you can see, it hasn't updated. The signal is off. This torch should be on, but it hasn't updated and it's at the same place again, so still not stable. Now the fourth one is a repeater with a comparator set behind it, again with 15 redstone in between each one of these two, the repeater comparator. And the reason for doing this is that the comparator is the new block, the new redstone bit in town, I guess, and we can check if it gets frozen, much like a repeater does. So, let's go forward and see if the signal reaches it to the end. And again, the signal stops at roughly the same point. So obviously this is where the chunks are being uploaded. Yes, updating the block at the side of the comparator lets the signal go on, and I'm assuming that it would be the same for if we're switching the power off. Okay, switch the power off on that line and see where this goes to. And here we go. Yes, it's frozen at the same place. So, whoops, updated the wrong block. So this last one that's on my right currently, this is using the new comparators. This is the kind of insta-wire effect. Now I've put two similar setups here. This is comparator block, repeat onwards, and this is comparator redstone, repeat onwards. I shall power both of these at the same time. You can see the signal got there fairly fast, so let's go to the very end. Getting to the very end here, it made it. The redstone lamps are lit. So, is the same applied when we switch these off? Let's go back and find out. So take that torch away. Watch them all depower. And let's see if the lamp's switched off at the end. Yeah. So there we go. The lamps are switched off at the end, which means that this kind of setup is probably the quickest and the easiest to put down to get a signal over a long distance. So, let's give this a proper test. What I have here, at the side here, is this is twice the length of this setup here. So this one here that I'm looking at, that's twice the length. Let's go and start that one up. Okay, this is a fairly big test. This is gonna go into quite a long distance. So I shall try and keep this in perspective for you guys as I travel along. It's all powered on, all the comparators are lit. Yes, they're still all lit. We've gone past the end of the last line there. It's waved bye-bye to that one as it's still all very much lit up. And the signal on both of these has reached the redstone lamps. Excellent. Well, that's such a long distance. I've actually set myself up a teleport, so I'm going to go back to the beginning of this line and power them off, and let's see what happens. Okay, let's power this off. And it's all switched off. All the signals are actually off. That's good. And the lights have turned off, which is good. It's what we're expecting. Ignore the big chunk error here. That's I broke my world. So it seems to be that this setup is probably the best setup. Now, of course, there is still an issue. If I teleport back to the beginning, what we have is this. If I'm going to power this on, you can see it gets powered on. What happens there is that if I actually teleport right to the end, there we go, we're back here, then we see that the lights haven't come on. These comparators haven't been activated until we come down here and we reach the chunks that need to be loaded in so that the signal can continue. So we get to about here, there we go, and then the signal continues. So you actually need to travel along the chunks that are being activated or deactivated in order to get the signal to the other side. Now, a way around this, of course the same applies if I switch this off. The way around this is, if I was to teleport, is to teleport and have a couple of intermediate teleports. So if I press this one, this teleports me a few times. Well, it worked for one of them. And that's the beauty of testing, isn't it? So I suppose you'd need more intermediate teleports, but as long as you're traveling along the line of this particular circuit, there we go, it switched itself off. Yeah, you can see it all being switched off. So as long as you're traveling along the line of this circuit in an adventure map, it's trying to send a signal back to spawn or back to a monument, a victory style monument, then you know, you'd be fine. It seems to work okay. Now, the other alternative on this is a rather slow one, but I did put this in just for the sake of it, just for the sake of completeness, and here we go. Let's send this minecart right to the other end. Now, the minecart is really, really slow, as you can tell. If you're not worried about your signal getting there really, really fast, you could actually do it the old school way of sending a minecart over. And we're almost here. Come on, you can make it. And there we go. The redstone lamp is lit. So, I hope this has been useful. I know there's usually a lot of questions regarding sending signals over long distances and about unloaded chunks, and I hope this might have answered some of those questions. Well, I've been Vladimir, and I shall see you all next time, folks. Take it easy.